Masters of the Air recounts the story of the 100th Bomb Group during World War II and follows bomber crews on dangerous missions to destroy targets inside German-occupied Europe. The show portrays the intensity of war, the dangers that the airmen face, and the friendships and relationships that develop. Though Masters of the Air has already delved into some of the 100th Bomb Group's unlucky missions during the spring and summer of 1943, Episode 5 explores one of the worst yet: the Munster Raid. Taking place on October 10, 1943, the Munster Raid was a mission flown by the 8th Force, including the 100th Bomb Group. Though it started out like any other mission, it ended in complete disaster. Each squadron saw significant losses, but the 100th was the worst of them all. Out of 13 planes that traveled all the way to Munster, only one returned. It's no surprise that Masters of the Air dedicated an episode to the Munster Raid. It was a mission that stood out, and in some ways was a turning point for the 100th Bomb Group. For Masters of the Air's story, the Munster Raid sees Major Harry Crosby promoted to Group Navigator, which likely saves his life. Additionally, Major John Egan is struggling with the recent disappearance of his best friend, Gail Cleven, and dives headfirst into this next mission, which ends in dangerous waters. And notably, Robert Rosie Rosenthal stands out as the only pilot to return to Thorpe Abbotts. An important detail that sheds some light on the Munster Raid was that it was part of the 8th Air Force's Black Week. From October 7th to October 14th, 1943, the 8th Air Force saw a shocking increase in missions and losses. In particular, the men flew several consecutive missions over this week that resulted in countless men being killed in action or going MIA. The Munster Raid was the third mission in as many days, which likely played a part in why the mission went so poorly. By October 10th, the men of the 100th Bomb Group were exhausted. Another setback to the Munster Raid was a lack of resources. Because the mission was the third straight mission that the 100th flew on, they were not truly ready to fly it. Rather than sending out the Regulation 21 aircraft that make up a squadron, the 100th only sent out 17 planes. This was all they had after flying the Bremen mission the day before. And on top of that, 4 of those planes were forced to return to base after facing mechanical problems. Therefore, the Munster Raid suffered from significant problems, even before the 100th left the tarmac. The 8th Air Force's exhaustion and losses were not the only reason why the Munster Raid stood out among others. It was also a type of mission that the 100th had never seen before. Over the course of the spring and summer of 1943, the 100th were generally sent on missions to bomb factories. For example, the Regensburg mission sent the men over a German ball-bearing factory. However, Munster was different. The Munster Raid's target was close to the city's centre and a local cathedral. For the first time, the 100th would be targeting people. The Munster Raid's proximity to citizens was a controversial fact for the men of the 100th. While some men prided themselves on having never killed an innocent person, others were eager to take out the railway workers that allowed Nazi Germany to run. Either way, the 100th set out on the Munster Raid, and bombs were successfully dropped on the city. In the end, the so-called nail in the coffin for the 100th and the rest of the 8th Air Force were the German planes. While it was not uncommon for German planes to attack the Americans in the midst of a mission, the Munster Raid was different. The Germans had hundreds of planes prepared to attack the US Army Air Forces during the Munster Raid, and these numbers were simply overwhelming. And that is the end of this review. Let us know in the comments section, which of the episode has been your favorite thus far? For more interesting clips like this video and subscribe to our channel.